state, local governments, and the federal government, 650,000 of police, fire, and teachers. Every act, every vote has consequences. Every pushing of responsibilities further and further down to mayors and council people in every town in this country brings about nothing more than hardship. Depending on this, it could be worse in certain parts of the country or better. I have introduced legislation to begin that process of getting back to where we should be. I want to stop the outsourcing of American jobs. One of the candidates for president defends outsourcing, says in the long run it will be a plus. Just like we heard in 2001 and 2003 that the cutting of taxes for the rich primarily would lead to investment in jobs. It didn't happen. We can't go back to that. I've introduced legislation in energy, particularly wind energy, to produce jobs. I've introduced legislation to change our infrastructure, which had bipartisan support, passed in the House, and the Senate can't get out of its way. Remember, there are arcane rules, 60 votes even to bring it to the floor. We need to put people back to work. Manufacturing is interesting, leading indicator that we are moving in the right direction. It was hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs before 2000, and we've lost more since. We can't afford to lose those jobs. We may not be at the point of having as many manufacturing jobs as we had before, but we need to stop giving corporations and companies royalties, tax exemptions, tax cutoffs to send jobs overseas. I think that's insane. We need to return those jobs to the United States and provide tax incentives for those companies. I think manufacturing will be the lead to bring us out of this recession. It was a deep recession, and I'm proud of what we've attempted to do, and we'll talk about the logjams we have in Congress. Thank you.
Friends, you create jobs by rewarding industriousness, by rewarding job creators. The first thing you do is you must bring down the corporate tax rate, which in the United States is the highest in the industrialized world. In places like Ireland, it's 15%. Here in the United States, it's 35%. My gosh. President Obama's own Simpson-Bowles Commission recommended that the tax rate be brought down from 35 at least to 25%, and the president promptly ignored this. Now, unfortunately, Congressman Pascrell, who keeps on telling us that he's a bridge builder, that he's here to build bridges, votes for this party 94% of the time. That 6% is a mighty weak bridge. Don't drive anything over it. The fact is that we will only create jobs through bipartisan efforts, where both parties acknowledge that we have to see a reduction in the payroll tax. Why are we punishing people who are self-employed, for example? That must be a sign. Is it the sign of truth, or is it the sign, what does it mean? Okay. Take the mic and put it this way. What if I lift my finger and hold it in the air?
Hold the mic closer.
Okay.
Away from the speaker.
The problem is whenever I hold mine, I'm tempted to sin, so I know you have hands that are right. Okay. There should be a reduction in the payroll tax. Why are we punishing people who are self-employed with a 13% payroll tax? President Obama gave temporary relief in the payroll tax, and now it's going to go right back up. And by the way, for all the talk that you hear from people like Congressman Pascrell that are fighters for the middle class, you're not a fighter for the middle class when you ensure that they don't have jobs because you create class warfare where people who have money to invest in businesses and hire workers are just hit with higher and higher taxes, so they're afraid to hire new people. That's one of the reasons we have to re-examine some of the aspects of President Obama's Health Care Act. There are aspects that are good, there are aspects that are bad, but there are 20 new taxes associated with that, especially the one that forces employers who have 50 employees or more to give them health insurance. Now, if you're a young person coming out of college and you're very healthy and robust, what would you prefer? To be sitting in your parents' basement, the way so many graduates are today with $100,000 in college debt?
30 seconds. Yes.
Or get a job, and when you get health care, you get health care for the non-job that you don't have because someone will employ you because they get trickle-down economics. The only thing that your voting pattern has brought us is trickle-down debt. We've done 44 months. We've done 44 months. With 8% or higher unemployment until 2 weeks ago. My friends, you've got to look at the facts. President Obama spent $1 trillion in a stimulus package that stimulated more debt, and Congressman Pascrell, with a 94% voting record you have in your party, you voted for that, you're part of the problem.
Congressman is
By 2020, 40% of the debt of this country is because of the tax cuts to the rich in 2001. Remember, anybody who makes more than $250,000, if you make $1 billion, you still get a tax cut of that up to 20. You know, it isn't that no one gets the tax cut of the billions. Number one. Number two, take a look at the debt and who caused the debt. Your party did not pay for 2 wars. Your party did not pay for the 2001 and 2000.
I'm going to ask you to wrap up.
I will. 2001 and 2003 tax cuts. Your party did not pay for the prescription drug plan, which turned out to be a real doozy, and it did not really help seniors and left them a big hole between $2,250 to $200 that they had to pay premiums and get no benefit. That's what your party did.
Okay. Do you need more time? Okay. You ran over? You can run over.
Congressman Pascrell. My name is Rabbi Shmuley. It's not you, it's not my opponent, it's Rabbi Shmuley. With a tax, if they do employ you, or they're forced to give you comprehensive health insurance when you're 24 and healthy, maybe you want catastrophic health insurance. You don't need the whole comprehensive package, but what you want is a job. I salute President Obama and his efforts to try to renegotiate America's health care issues, but the timing was wrong. The problem was that our economy was a freefall. It's jobs, 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 and more jobs. We have to reduce taxes and increase growth in order to show the American people that this is a nation that rewards opportunity and that rewards industrious and effort.
Thank you.
Where do I start? The question, the answer. Anyway. Is it working? Was it working? Yeah. That part of it?
Let me see that. Use that one for the moment.
That's not all my time.
I'm resetting the timer.
As I said, where do we start? It was the Democratic Congress that cut the payroll tax. It is the Democratic Congress and the President that wanted to continue the payroll tax cut. But we have 90 tax cuts that are expiring. So when you talk about taxes, remember the question was on jobs, and if you think we're going to go back to the era of trickle-down economics, we had enough of it. We had enough of it. And that's why we elected a new president in 2008. I will not support trickle-down economics. That the top gets the better, the top gets the skim of the milk, and rest flow down to the bottom. That is not my idea about creating jobs. We need private sector jobs. You're absolutely correct. But we don't need to balance budgets on the backs of police officers, firefighters, and teachers. That's not the way to do it in Washington, and it's not the way to do it in Trenton. Thank you.